any of the lectures. So, oops. That's right. I'm doing it right. It's recording, right? Little thing's moving. Yeah, it's moving. All right. You guys can scoot over here since there's no one here. Just so we can make it more intimate, but not inappropriately so. All right, let's talk about the chapter in Grossman, chapter 7. What are your thoughts on that chapter? He makes, I feel like there's one major theme in this chapter that point he makes.
7 and 8 mixed up.
Yeah, we're in chapter 7 of Grossman.
Yeah.
He talks a lot about time, if I'm not mistaken. What are some of the points he makes about time?
Use it wisely.
Yeah, he talks about, unlike money, if you invest money into a mutual fund, the more you invest at a 15% return, the idea is the more you'll get in return. Now with time, it is a resource that does not renew and it does not grow. It is a limited resource, that we only have so much time, which is why I posted that video I did. I don't know if did you guys get a chance to watch that video yet?
I hate you.
The last lecture. I posted a video. It's an hour long, but it's worth it. It's
Oh my God.
just to give you a little preamble, so to speak, of it.
All right.
It's this guy, Randy Posh. He was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, and they have this tradition every year where they asked a professor, usually who is retiring, to give their last lecture as if they were going to die. Well, they asked him to do it, and then after they asked him to do it, in between asking him to do it and him doing it, he found out he was dying of pancreatic cancer. And so his last lecture was literally his last lecture. And it's pretty powerful stuff.
Cried like all the way through.
What's
and I'm
that
not
under?
a crier.
If you go to the Blackboard,
Yeah.
it's in our forum for
Yeah.
this week. There's a link to it.
Oh, in the forum?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
just haven't looked at
It's an hour and 16 minutes, but yeah,
It's worth it.
I bawled like a baby at the end of it.
Yeah.
I was like, I hate Jason Lee, kid.
And he did pass.
Yeah.
He's if you look up, his wife still does some charity work in his name and stuff, but it's pretty powerful. And I know that this is a business class, but I thought, whether you're talking business or life, that time is just the most valuable resource. And so, striking that balance between work and life, but then also, he talks about Steve said he talks about he became that anything guy. Any gig he'd take it. Where
that. Remember that.
if you really think about it, time is so valuable that we've got to be willing to value our time enough to say no, even if it means making money. That you can take the wrong gig. Like, for example, give me an example of what could be the wrong gig for you for photography-wise. That you could get paid for it, but it just wouldn't be. It doesn't fit the vision.
I don't know if I have a wrong one for photography. I know as far as like when I book the bands, there's certain places that we don't necessarily book them because it doesn't quite fit. We played Re-Raw for a while, but we didn't feel like it really fit what we were going for, and so we don't play there anymore.
Right.
It wasn't anything against Re-Raw; it was a fine gig, but.
And I've not played there, but I took that gig, this will be privately, because I threw out a certain price that I didn't think they'd pay,
Yeah.
and they paid it. So
Wow.
I was like, all right, I'm convinced.
It's not a
Let's
bad
do it.
place. It's just
Yeah.
they don't really like to dance a whole lot
Right.
because they go upstairs, and the way that Steve's band operates is we like to have dancers on the floor.
Mhm.
We don't want to be just background music. So it's not a bad gig. It's just we couldn't get people to dance, and it kind of brought the morale down a little bit.
Well, and I also think I took it because it is St. Patrick's Day, I figured it'd probably be crowded.
Oh, it's going to be packed. It's going to be
Oh.
insane in there.
So hopefully it will be. But that's a great example of doing the wrong thing. For you, you wanna revitalize blues. I would really start thinking about what is the best way you can do that to where everything you're about is doing that. And it kind of comes down to starting to think about, since time is so limited, what is the legacy you're going to leave? Like, what is the, you think about it. Once you reach a certain age, I mean, it's half over. So we only have so much time that we're going to be able to leave whatever legacy. And so that's what Steve kind of came to. He wasn't building the career for himself he wanted.
It's not just it's half over, it could be almost all over too.
It could be.
'Cause
You never know.
It could,
Never know. So
Yeah.
spending every moment, and that's the tie-in of that Randy Posh video. Even though it doesn't really have anything to do with business, it does have to do with that. Hey, he starts out by saying, "Here are the goals I had," and almost all of them, except being an NFL player, he reached. And that one, it just wasn't reasonable. He just
pretty high goal there.
And so, no matter how you spend time, unlike money, no matter how you spend time, you don't get any more of it.
Yeah, you
So,
can't, yeah.
because of that, time, I think, is by far and away your most valuable resource. That's why this class hasn't been bad, but that's why I've had a little bit of problem with my 205 class, because they've not been participating at all in the forums, and then some of them are wanting me to help them out grade-wise, and I just don't, because my time is too valuable. I'm too busy as it is. I'm teaching because I like to teach and I want to help people, but if you don't try, feel free to fail. Then no skin off my back. I mean, in May I'm still going to be Dr. McKinney whether you pass or not. So time is your most valuable resource, and striking that balance, like Steve says in the book, is actually, especially we're all creative people, and we're talking to business class, but it's also we're creative. There has to be, you can't be so much about business that you don't take time to actually be creative. Otherwise, you're not going to be good at the business you do. If you don't ever just stop and drive around and look at cool stuff to take pictures of, then eventually your work will suffer. And so you have to strike this balance. And so time is the most valuable resource. He makes a quote in there that I think is really cool. That time both makes presidents and criminals. Now, so if we want to get into a deeper discussion, do men or women rise to greatness because they're born that way, or because a particular set of skills and a personality meets a certain time period's needs? Like if Benjamin Franklin were born today, would he have been a great leader? Or was it the fact that he was born in the time that he was, for the time that he was born in?
I see both sides of it, really.
Okay, how? Elaborate on that.
Well, I can see how genius is genius. Whether no matter, Socrates would still be smart today.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also see the time, whereas I don't know if he would be the figure he was, because the times made anybody with any talent like that, you could become you could be made into a leader because of the media. There wasn't hardly any media, so everybody, once people find out about you, start read. He was really, in a lot of ways, just a writer, really.
He was the media.
Yeah, good point. And I can see both sides, really.
So
it's hard to explain what I'm.
One of my favorite people in history is Lincoln. And you look at everything he did before he became president, he was a failure at it. He had a law practice that failed. He ran for legislature like 4 times, and he was elected once, and then not reelected, and then he didn't get elected the other 3 times. Everything he did, he failed miserably until he became president. And even then, he was not at the time widely regarded as very successful. It's only in history that we remember him. So that argument can be made, but time and opportunity does make people successful or not successful.
Same with Roosevelt.
Teddy or Franklin?
Franklin, he rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
Churchill, same deal.
So I think the point that Grossman's trying to make is that we have to, not in a panicked sort of way, but we have to take account for how we spend our time always. That's not to say that it's never okay to relax, but you just have to relax with purpose, going, okay, I'm going to take this amount of time to relax. And I personally, I confess, I am horrible at that. I never sit down and not feel guilty that I'm sitting down. I always feel like I have to be doing something. And I usually will work myself. I'll end up doing things like, I don't know, getting 5 hours sleep in 3 days. But just because it's never good enough. And that can be good and it can be bad. I mean, there has to be a certain obsessiveness about somebody if they're going to be successful. I mean, Michael Jordan wouldn't be Michael Jordan if he did not have the attitude of, you will not beat me. I will outwork you, period. But there's that balance. So anyway, time, I thought it was kind of an interesting discussion in the midst of a business class that Grossman himself kind of goes philosophical there for a second and talks about time. So he talks about goal in the original sense of the word, G-O-L, in the book. You guys, one of you tell me what that is basically equal to? What does that mean?
The limitations.
Yeah, it meant a boundary. So that's interesting in light of what we think of a goal. We think of a goal as something that can be reached. But a goal is also defining what you don't need to reach or what stands in your way. And so for now, I mean, let's list eventually, on the forums what our boundaries are as far as what gets in our way. But let's list kind of, what is beyond the scope of what we need to achieve. Because you've heard the thing, you can't be all things to all men all the time. You've got to decide, what is it I'm going to do and what am I going to do well?
This is what my problem is.
And that's why I'm pushing a little bit on the mission statements. It's
Yeah.
going, let's get specific in what do you do that separates you from everyone else. And there is that thing. And it's sometimes the simplest task, like writing a mission statement, you're talking about 20, 25 words, but sometimes they're hard because they're such an important amount. The words mean so much. Of going, okay, I can say, I want to provide great service to my customers so that they're satisfied and they come back. Okay, how? And by doing a good job. Okay, how? You could do a good job. And you just keep drilling down. And the reason I'm starting on these things now is because I think thought process wise, they're going to take the rest of the semester kind of get there, so that my goal in this class is that you guys walk away with some concrete knowledge about business, but more that you're able to define and articulate exactly what you're going after so that you can go after it.
So kind of like a mission statement in a way is kind of like, I don't know, I took a class last semester with Tom Young, audio video production, and in there it's got process message of what you're trying to get a point across to the viewer. And there was like a list of 2 or 3 points, like what age group, what you try to get as defined as you can in this, in a short sentence. You understand that, like, I'm going after this age group, and what it's for, and what it's, trying to warn about meth to kids, and I might use a little bit of humor in it to, or somehow, and you just define how you're gonna, and condense it down. That's kind of like a mission statement?
It condensed,
in a
but
way.
It doesn't get really into the demographic stuff. It's more aspirational than that.
Okay.
It's more of a philosophical statement, but it has to be very concise. So
yeah, but extra defined, I guess, is what I'm looking. Yeah, that's where the way would be similar, right?
The more specific you can make it, the better it is going to be at guiding you in your decisions. And it's hard, and they can change over time. It's not like you're locked in, but I think it gives you something to go after. So goals being boundaries. It's easy for us to go, for example, I got offered to play a pop festival in Europe, and I didn't take it. And it was good money, but it's beyond the scope of what I want to do. It doesn't fit the boundary. And so that's okay. That helps you turn down opportunities to go, that's not what I do.
Have you already been to Europe?
Yeah, I've been to Europe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that was what struck me. I'd be like, well, just go to Europe. But yeah, I guess I don't realize that. But
Bigger in Europe than Evansville, that's for sure.
I think I remember you saying that now tonight.
Yeah. Evansville is my smallest market. It's one of those things where they're like, oh, I know that guy. I'm not going to see him. I went to high school with him. I played junior league football with him. I'm not going to go see him. I'm certainly not going to pay for it. And so back to goals, is the boundary is the most important goal is eliminating distractions. is getting rid of the things that don't matter. There's this concept. Gosh, I wish they had markers for me. Anyway, I'll get over it. There's a concept. There's different kinds of complexity. We live in a pretty complex world. There's different levers that you pull that hopefully have an effect. But there's not all levers are the same, if I'm making sense. There's dynamic complexity, meaning that getting rid of distractions allows you to focus on the things that are important. There's busyness, there's emergency things. Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, talks about there's urgent things and then there's important things. And one of the things that, and Steve Grossman talks about this too, is that every time somebody called, he'd take a gig, which distracted him from getting the kinds of gigs that he really wanted to get. So now the urgent need was, why did he take those gigs? He needed money. That was the urgent need, but he never got to the important things. So Stephen Covey talks about, while we do have to deal with the urgent, we do need to allot a certain amount of time, all the time, every day, for the important things. So if your thing is to revitalize blues, say you start out by saying, I'm going to revitalize the blues scene in Vincennes. And every day you got to wake up and you're going to have to make some money somehow, provide for yourself. But every day you should be working on that and hold to that time as sacred. I have to be working on this because, no, it's not urgent, because here's the thing, the important things never become urgent. And that's how people go, you end up at the end of your life and go, man, I worked 30 years and I never got to do that thing that I really wanted to do because I never got time to do it. Well, you didn't allot time. So it's don't spend your life doing the urgent things. The urgent things are things that are right before you, but they typically aren't the most important things. Do the important things. And I'm not just talking philosophically, I'm talking business-wise. It's the same thing. You can get, in a business sense, I can get bogged down answering emails all the time. And then I never actually get to the higher level strategic things that I need to be doing because I'm answering emails, even from band members who constantly email me 40 times a day. But not that I'm bitter about that, but if I were bitter about it, it might bother me. But to do the important things, because eventually those are the levels that you pull that actually have an effect on the end line, the bottom line. They have effect on the quality and have eventually an effect on the profit. Where a lot of times the urgent things really don't affect the profit at all, and they don't affect the long-term goal. They're just the emergency of the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So goals, one of the greatest things about goals, they eliminate the distractions. You can get rid of them. All right, now let's get into the more nitty-gritty stuff. The real business stuff. All right, so in your other book, and feel free to look this up, tell me what SRLP means. Look up in the chapter. We are in chapter 6 of Hutchison.
What was the acronym again?
SRLP. Should be on page 1 of the chapter.
Is that the suggested retail?
It's standard retail list priced.
Oh, okay, I was on the right track.
So we're talking
No,
about...
it says suggested.
Huh?
It says suggested in the book.
That's not what people use anymore. So let's talk about basically we're talking about inventory. Let's answer this question first. Is inventory going to be an issue in the future of music?
Probably not.
But is it an issue now? It is an issue now, so it's worth spending a little bit of time and about 5 questions on a quiz over. And then after that, it's okay that you just sort of keep it in the back of your mind as something that, yes, we did once have to deal with, but we're probably not going to have to deal with it anymore. So the retail list price. Now, one thing back in the day when I first got signed, which is a Wednesday, because back in the day it's always a Wednesday, record labels would hold back 20% for returns. So they would take the money what you sold, and they'd hold back 20% of that money, and they wouldn't pay you because they figured that at least 20% of the records they got into the stores would not sell, and they would come back. You know, and that's called the reserve reduction. So, and then you take sales minus 20%, and that gives you the reduction rate. So sales, whatever you sold, minus 20%, and that's the reduction rate. And how you figure that up is SoundScan divided by net shipments, and that's the sell-off percentage. All right, let's talk about something that is important. And I went over that just for the quiz, that little part there. Have you guys ever done a break-even analysis? I know you've taken a business class. Have you ever done a break-even analysis?
Sort of. I had to do it. I mean, it kind of walked me through. I just punched in numbers and it did it on its own. But
Right. And if I had a marker, it would be fantastic because I could actually go over this with you.
you told me I needed to define mine better, actually.
Yeah, I don't know why somebody's writing on this board. But I guess I'm
They
chopped
bring
liver.
their own.
They probably do. Pencils are so
BYON.
cheap that they never buy me a marker. I've got pens. That helps. Not so much.
Maybe if you use that, then they'll give you a marker next time.
All right. Well, anyway, I'll just keep talking.
Well, I was in my math class, they got a bunch of them, they just none of them work.
Oh, really? They're all dried up?
Yeah, most of them, for the most part.
All right, a break-even analysis is, Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book called The Tipping Point, which was for business things, where things sort of start to snowball downhill. Meaning that you've pushed the business over the point to where, you know, everything takes that huge, insurmountable effort. And an equivalent, like if you're booking a band, it's that point where you're not having to make all the calls out, but there are calls
They're
coming
calling
in.
back. That's
And
sweet.
that's the tipping point to where the business is actually operating. Well, in a financial sense, the break-even analysis, you know, if you took out $20,000, you know, you got to figure out how long is it going to take us before we actually make a profit. And that break-even analysis, you got to do sales projection, you got to do forecasting, and it is that tipping point, that moment in time where you cross that line and go, okay, now we've made $1. Not-
You can find a black ink pen.
Yeah, find a black, yeah, because you're in the black. Break-even analysis is very good if you're going to work with investors on anything, because they're going to want to know, when can I start to expect to get paid back? And it is subjective to a certain extent, because it is a little bit of guesswork, but it should be very educated. What you need to do is figure out what have been your current sales, what do you estimate your current sales growth, what do you estimate your current sales growth on? Is it based on other businesses in the same community? Is it based on other businesses that are similar in operation, like same type of businesses in other communities? What are you basing that on? And it can't just be, well, we think this. If you can't find any of that information, what you need to do is look at your own sales for the previous year, and then you fill that in. January, February, March, we sold this last year. We expect a 5% growth. So you take that, add 5%, and then you just basically fill in the year based on a 5% growth. Investors are going to want to know that, because as much as anyone believes in your business, at the end of the day, they don't really give a crap about anything but making money.
Yeah.
Rich people got rich because they're smart and they want to make money. That's one of the biggest mistakes that people in the music business make, is they go, well, it's art. People believe in it. No, Warren Buffett didn't get that way by just being really into art. He got rich because he knows what to do with money and how to make money. So break-even analysis is very important. And it would not be a bad idea to add that as a part of your portfolio. Just estimating what you think. For you, what you want to do, it may not be monetary. It may be a certain number of people, followers, participation in blues. I mean, it may be, you know what I'm saying, it may not be a monetary, but you still need to have that break even where you're considering what we talked about, started talking about your time, and when is your time actually mattering? I mean, it always matters, but I'm saying, when is it going, okay, my time is actually worth it because there's 400 people involved in this now. I can justify this. Whereas, you know, at the beginning, you're not going to see it really. You're going to be doing a lot of work and very few people are going to respond. Don't be discouraged, that's just normal.
Yeah.
Nobody knows yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing to add to a portfolio to do a break-even analysis. So, I'd like you to do the quiz. Let's just ask questions based on the chapters or anything else. Yes, my favorite 70s TV show was BJ and the Bear. So I just want to get that off the table. You guys remember that show, right? BJ McKay, his best friend.
I
Bear.
know of it. I'm more of an 80s kid. I was born in 76, so.
Well, I was born in 75, so.
Oh, well, I don't know, maybe I would, I don't remember it, I guess maybe, I was
He
thinking
was
about
a-
maybe further back.
I'm older than both of you.
He was a truck driver, and his best friend was a monkey, and they would deliver their goods, and they would always find people who happened to be in trouble, and they'd have to help them out. And by the end of the episode, they had solved all the problems. So
You reckon anybody's loaded any of those on YouTube or something?
they have. I looked them up, and he later went on to star in a show called My Two Dads,
Which one was it?
Yeah.
the cool one. Greg Evigan,
Oh, not Paul Reiser.
not Paul Reiser, the other guy.
The other
The other
guy,
guy.
okay. Whatever happened to him?
He was on a show that William Shatner produced in the 90s, and then he hasn't done anything since.
Yeah. Paul Reiser, he was all right.
I liked Mad About You. It
Yeah.
was good. We're way off subject. But
Yeah.
Mad About You.
Yeah.
All right, so questions.
As far as being the any drummer,
Yeah.
you know, he knew what he wanted to be though. If you
Correct.
don't know for sure what you want to go for, isn't it okay to be the any drummer until you figure it out? Because I'm getting bashed for that right now.
Not if you never have a second chance to make a first impression. And so if you kind of get known as the indie drummer and then you decide, oh, I don't want to be the indie drummer, I want to be this type of drummer, you're kind of already labeled. You're kind of already there. And that's why I'm hoping, like, I know a lot of this stuff kind of maybe seems like minutia or kind of fluffy to kind of define your portfolio, but it's actually really important. So that you can kind of go, this is what I do, this is what I do well, this is what I want to do. This whole semester is supposed to be about figuring that out. If we can get there by the end of the semester, and we're only halfway through, so if we can get there by the end, I think it can help to where you don't have to live as the indie drummer. If that makes sense.
Did my third mission statement, was it getting any
It
better?
it was better.
Okay.
It was definitely better.
I was getting yelled at in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like, well, this is what we're talking about. What is it that you're wanting to do? I was like, I don't know.
Eric, what about you?
I
haven't heard. I know you want to do stuff with blues, but what do you want to do? What exactly do you want to do? You know?
No. I
Okay.
don't. That's been, I guess, my struggle with this class is it's like somebody's put me in a corner and they're asking me some really serious questions, and I'm
Got the
like,
light.
yeah,
Who were you on
yeah,
the
yeah,
night
and
of June 5th?
I don't have answers, but I've been reading this one. It's easier than this other one to really read, but this is a neat book. But I don't really know. I just it's the only thing I can think of as a like a dream venture would be. I mean, I don't even care about playing in any blues shows or whatever. It's more about promoting and trying to.
Well, what about, have you thought about maybe starting a blues society of Southern Indiana?
I don't know how to go about starting a blues society of Southern Indiana. See my conundrum. I don't know what step one is.
I think it's just to start it. Just to say, build a Facebook page.
That's what I was gonna
Say Blues Society, and then you start building from there, and you kind of figure it out as you go. I would go to blues.org. I think I sent you that link.
Oh, you may have. I have.
Blues.org, and that's the International Blues Society, and they may have, and just email one of the staff members and say, hey, I want to start a blues society, and because that, if you get the society and you can show them a base, you can start to have blues artists come through and play here, and you can show that, hey, we can bring 100 people out every time. Then they're going to start filtering people your way, and you
People
can
that
kind of
play for 100 people.
With blues, a lot of people play for 100
Yeah, you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
and then if you get a bigger following, you can get a little bit.
Right.
Get a guy play that. Well, I'll play for 400. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and
I guess and that,
there's a lot of blues guys in Evansville, and there's a guy in Kentucky that I know, and
Stillwell and Rodenberg. I don't know if they still play together, but they're
Oh.
Both fantastic.
Carl, yeah. Carl would make,
I don't know which is which one's the guitarist, which one's I think the other one's a keyboardist.
Yeah, Carl's a keyboard player.
They played
Tommy's a
for
guitar
Buddy
player.
Guy the second time I saw Buddy Guy, and they were pretty decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
I know
like?
they-
You would like the Steel Drivers.
Yeah, they're cool.
Steel Drivers
Yeah.
are real cool.
Yeah.
That dude, we played. I headlined a festival in Poland with them. Man, he can sing.
Yeah.
He's great. Alabama Shakes is fantastic. That
Yeah,
girl,
yeah, I haven't
She can sing.
joined on that yet, but there's already 2 or 3 people telling me I'm going to.
Yeah, you're
When I
missing
hear
out.
it, yeah. Well, I do. I miss out though. Like in the past, year, I fell in love with the White Stripes, when I probably should have done it when everybody else did. And the Raconteurs before that, 3 years ago, and the Black Keys. I just
Right down
in
this-
the past 2 years.
Right down the cold stairs.
I
Good
did write
friends of
down the
mine.
cold stairs the last time I was here, and
Good friends of mine.
I didn't.
They're getting ready to blow up really huge, and I'm not jealous at all.
I really like. But
Since
I'm
you're
so,
being videotaped.
Yeah.
I went backwards for music. Like, it's hard to know who the new rock guy is when you're in 1938 trying to find Charlie Patton stuff. And
Which is cool though.
yeah, or even country music. I like Roots, the whole T-Bone Burnett. I'm a big T-Bone believer in his philosophies.
You would like an album called Troubadours, Vagabonds, and Thieves. You should pick that up.
I don't know, but I do remember commenting on both the album titles I saw on there.
Mhm.
That I like. I like it. I remember reading the titles and I was like, I like them already because I love the titles.
There's quite a bit of blues influence.
Well, those 3 words together is kind of, you get the sense of a derivative of Hank Williams and/or blues.
More blues than Hank Williams.
Yeah, but that kind of life of 30s and 40s.
And it might get you guys extra credit if you went on iTunes and gave it a 5 rating and left a comment. I'm
I
just
couldn't
saying.
figure out how to rate it.
Oh, I don't know how to do an iTunes thing.
I went on
Sorry.
there, but I couldn't find the little thing. I know that somebody posted on there how to get to it, but I'm like,
I do really like the comment.
I tried.
Just go to album, and then it should have rate and review.
Okay.
Should have a little tab.
Maybe I wasn't going to album.
Yeah, you got to go to the album, not just the artist name.
Okay.
But
I did like the quote at the end of the little article in the news for you about the your record deal and $5 will get you a
Cup of coffee, yeah.
at Starbucks.
Yeah.
I found that one.
unfortunately, that's true. Well, that's all I have. We're cruising in this class. We just got the portfolio is going to be big. The portfolio. You guys have any questions on the portfolio? Real quick. I mean, it's pretty well outlined in the syllabus.
Yeah, this is the first class I've ever had a syllabus that was like,
Detailed.
yeah, and helped.
I try to be as detailed as I
Wasn't
can.
like, oh, okay, and then, you look through it and you realize this is not gonna help you.
Right.
Because attendance and grading scale, I mean, I get it.
Right.
But like, this is actually helpful. It's just, the weeks are a little off on there or something, weren't they? A week off, or you didn't count the first week on? Or?
Yeah, the first week doesn't
Yeah,
count as week
yeah.
one. Week one is
Yeah, that's
actually
what
when we
it was.
started.
Yeah.
The first official week we didn't start. So, any other questions?
Where am I supposed to be taking my portfolio? Like, what direction? Because, like I said, I'm not exactly a musician, so everybody else is like, oh, well, I'm marketing me. And I don't really know that I'm marketing me. I don't know how to get it in that mindset to where,
That's where it needs to be. It doesn't have to be in a
I know.
music way, but I mean,
Right.
just whatever you is. If it's photography, if it's booking, if it's both.
Your
Just-
skill set.
Yeah, define that. You incorporate it.
as if I was coming up with a resume, that
It's
kind of way.
more than a resume, but
Right, but I mean, as far as selling myself,
yeah, it's It's more than selling yourself. That's part of it, but it's also introspective as well. Sort of the clear definition of you have of what you want and where you're going, the better you're going to be at selling yourself to someone else.
that would be the problem.
And that's kind of the key, is that when you can get that clear definition, then it's easy for you
Right.
to go out to someone else and sell them, because otherwise, what are you selling them on? If you're here, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, they're
Selling
not gonna.
points.
That's what he's been
In-
going on
in the
to before.
future.
I'm becoming the jack of all trades, master of none thing, and he's like, you're gonna have to pick something and go with it.
Mhm.
And I'm having a hard time picking something. Cause I'm
But-
doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and
Well, there's a way though to be a jack of all trades and combine it in. I mean, I'm continuing to be an artist and a writer, and I'm teaching, and I'm signing a publishing deal to write a book. So that the Hutchison book will not be a part of this class next year. The book that I'm writing will be. We'll still use Grossman, but.
that's a good book.
But, and so I'm gonna be a jack of all trades, but it's all centered around the music business.
Right.
And being kind of a knowledge broker in the music business is what I call it, so it's kind of all that. And I'll probably do some speaking engagements too, but it's, you can do a lot of different things, just the vision has to be clear on what do you want. And even in specific areas, okay, take one part of it, take the photography, you can still do booking, still do some things, but what do you want out of that part of it? What do you want out of this part of it? Even in the specific areas, the segmentation still be specific in what you want, so that you know what you're going after.
Okay.
Otherwise, it just gets vague, and vague goals are hard to achieve. Specific goals. That's what he talks about going. Don't just say, I'm going to start a business and I want it to be profitable. Say, I'm going to start a business and 18 months in, we're going to have gross $70,000. That's specific. You can back that out into months. And that way, in February, if we didn't sell $2,000 worth, we're behind. We either need to adjust the goal or we need to do better about achieving the goal. Vague just sort of leaves you doing nothing. Specific puts meat on the bones and allows you to go, okay, it's measurable. I can measure this. I know whether or not I'm achieving this or not. Make sense?
Yeah.
So, all right, that's it. We'll get out 5 minutes early.
I really liked what he said in that video about the brick wall.
Yeah. And the definition of, let's do